Welcome.
Perfect.
This is the inaugural pilot proof of concept episode for Community Rx'd, new podcast as part of the, I want to say it right, part of the Clydesdale Media Podcast Network. We are your hosts for the time being till we get sick of each other. My name is Mike Ostman.
And I am Tom DeRolio.
We are two people involved with the CrossFit community in a number of ways. Both of us are volunteers, both of us are judges. I've also done some scoring, some event team, and moving into work within the event space. Tom is Mr. Judge Extraordinaire at multiple events, as well as a Fed, so we don't screw with Tom. But we met judging at the West Coast Classic this year, and judged together at the Iron Games in Utah, and had this idea to do a little podcast talking about the community. Anything I missed?
We were also at the games together. We were at the CrossFit Games together.
We were at
North Park together. Yep.
Yeah, we were at the games together, even though you never saw me because I was in the shade, sitting at a computer entering scores while you were on your knee on hot turf trying to count double unders on turf while I was
that was interesting.
that was traumatizing for all, including those who had to do the math.
That's good. Those double unders on turf, that turns into a drag rope. It's insane.
The question is, did you have one of the individuals who didn't get, because that event started with high skilled gymnastics, muscle ups, I believe, for a lot of people. Did you have one of the people who didn't even get one muscle up?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I had those. I think everybody got through the muscle ups and got into the doubles.
That's good. We had doing the score sheets. We had some where we had no completed reps.
That's unfortunate.
That is the most stressed I've ever been as a volunteer.
What
I will say.
Was that because of the Masters athletes were expected to do muscle ups and they weren't expecting it? Yeah.
Yep. Masters. And I can't remember what the adaptive athletes had to do. I feel like they had to do something that was still really high skill. I
can't remember what it was either. Obviously the upper extremity athletes weren't expected to do muscle ups. I can't remember what they did instead.
And then what they did, which made it even more confusing, was they put multiple divisions together in the same heat. And that made it really confusing because mid tabulation on the scorecards, we had to we've moved from this division to this division.
Yeah. With different movements, like completely different movements.
Yes. Yeah. So different time math, as we would say, to add up the reps. That was a unique experience that we got to go through together, even though we were apart. What else have we done together? I can't think of anything.
That's about it for now, I think.
Yeah, I tried to get
we have future plans. Yeah, I'm trying to get up to Granite Games. I'm trying to get up to Minnesota, Michigan.
I tried to get
you out here to California.
Yeah, California. That's going to happen now that I don't have a job in higher education anymore. Where I have to actually take vacation days, barring some event that I have to work that time. I will try and get out there. But this is the intent of this podcast is to be a little different than a lot of podcasts within the CrossFit space. We both are avid fans of the elite level and the elite athletes and the highly competitive pro elite division within the CrossFit space, fittest on earth, whatever you'll call it. But we are also two people who are very involved at the community level. We're both coaches. I know I'm a level 1. I'll be a level 2 eventually. I'm a level 2. Okay, Tom, you're level 2. So we are both coaches I'm at a very small affiliate currently. We only have 60 members in a small town, about 20,000 people. I know obviously you're in California, so I assume you have more people.
Actually, so California, it's kind of interesting because, the birth with CrossFit was just down the road in Santa Cruz. I'm in San Jose. So we have a lot of affiliates in a very small area. So San Jose is a big city, 9th or 10th largest in the country, but our gym is real small. We're probably about 60 to 100 members right now.
Okay.
So,
that's about where we're at in small town Minnesota. Who knows where I'll be in a month, if I even find a boxer, if I just go the garage gym life. But we're both coaches at the affiliate level. Trying to think what else anyone would ever want to know about us.
How'd you find CrossFit?
How did I find CrossFit?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
See,
So
that's why you bring me here.
That's why I brought you on, because Lord knows I wouldn't have been able to do this myself. How I found CrossFit, I lived in South Texas. I moved there. I didn't know anyone. After a year, I was 300 pounds in weight, thereabout, probably a little more, and had been diagnosed with high blood pressure for the first time in my life. I also did not know anyone. It is definitely a different area than Minnesota, where I came from, being about 99% Hispanic, which I absolutely loved, living in a diverse space, but I didn't really know anyone at all and was definitely not part of the culture. So I think I turned on Netflix, and the 2015 games documentary was on there. Not knowing that it had, for some reason my brain got really into it, like, oh, I don't know who actually won this. I think this is live. And I was rooting for people. I didn't know the results. And I'm like rooting for Matt Fraser. And he ends up losing in the end. I was so disappointed. I was like, well, shit, it happened a year ago, of course. Like, it's pre-recorded, obviously. But that got me interested in it, because previous to that, I'd only seen like ESPN clips, or I was actually a club basketball coach in grad school, and I had a player who did CrossFit, and she was always hurt. And I actually called her CrossFit and gave her shit because she was always hurt. And I assumed it must be because of CrossFit. So I was one of those guys. But I
Feeding into the stereotype. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, back then, yeah, I didn't know any better. It's 2013. It was a dark time. And then I found out I was working at a university. One of my student workers, she was a CrossFit coach, and we had like 5 or 6 gyms in McAllen, Edinburgh, Texas area. So I asked her which one she'd recommend. Tried a couple, showed up at one that turned into my home for the next year until I moved back to Minnesota, and pulled up to the 6 a.m. class, 300-pound white guy, no idea what I'm doing. And the entire gym is filled with sweaty, fit people doing muscle ups that morning. And I sulked in for a free trial, and here we are. That was
5 years later.
Yeah, 5 years later, 5.5 years later. Took about a year off when I moved back to Minnesota, because I really did not care for the owner of my gym at the time, just in terms of the programming. But I returned a year later because I missed the gym so much, and I was probably a little naive to what was good programming anyway. I was headstrong and I had my own equipment. So yeah, been at CrossFit Exponent in Edinburgh, Texas was the first year. Then ever since I stopped working out in my garage, been CrossFit Warrior Risen in Winona, Minnesota, a little southeast corner. How did you get into CrossFit? Because you're from the football world.
Actually, I found CrossFit. I found CrossFit in 2007.
Okay. You're
So
OG, much more OG than I am.
Yeah. So I found it in late 2007 when I just gotten hired in law enforcement. And I was getting ready to go to my academy, and the guys that I was working with introduced me to it. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. We were trying to do it at like the Gold's Gym. I think it was a Bally's gym or Crunch Fitness or something like that, across the street. Hated it, man. Smoked me, absolutely wrecked me. And then
your house on fire?
In my academy, it was big onto CrossFit and kettlebells. Fell in love with kettlebells in my academy, and that just kind of the birth of it. Came home from my academy, and when work would allow me at the time, found a gym here locally. Found a couple of them. First gym I ever went to was an OG gym, CrossFit San Jose. And from there I went to NorCal CrossFit, now NC Fit. And eventually found my way across some other gyms until landing at one that is now closed, unfortunately, but became a coach there. And that's in all she wrote ever since. So been a coach ever since at various gyms. So
how did you get into, because I didn't meet you till this year, randomly, some random dude in Vegas for West Coast Classic walked up to our group and started talking to us, and turns out it was you. How did you get into the judging volunteering world?
It was it's kind of weird. So way back when they had, during the open, you could submit a video and you would judge it online, like people that submitted videos. And they had a judges leaderboard. And I was working from home and had a lot of free time. So I was just watching video after video after video. And my name got like to number 2 on this leaderboard. And so the guys at my gym said, hey, you should go down to regionals. Try to go to the West regionals or super. I think it was still super regionals. I can't even remember now. And so I volunteered and I got picked up and I went to whatever it was called, either California Regional or West. I can't remember what year it was called what, but, and ended up judging down there. Completely green, had no idea who people were. Adrian Bosman was our head judge there at Del Mar. No idea who he was. Like, he's this big guy, and I'm just sitting here jaw jacking with him in between events, just like a normal guy. It was actually kind of cool, but no idea who this guy was. You know, the head judge for the CrossFit Games. You know, big OG CrossFitter. It was kind of fun, and I fell in love with it after that. So started volunteering more regionals. Rest in peace. Went to local events and just finally ended up in the games. I think that I volunteered to go to the games and got selected. And I think it was my first year was 16, 17, whenever the first year in Madison was. I didn't get to go to Southern California, but been doing it ever since. So,
Nice.
well, except for 2020, obviously.
Yeah, you had to be pretty high up to go to 2020.
Yeah.
You had to,
Even though the CrossFit Games were literally 20 miles south of me.
yeah,
So, because being in San Jose, the ranch is just down the road. So
there you go.
I tried to get down there. I tried really hard.
I was hoping they'd call us for scoring, but I wasn't that established to get that opportunity.
Yeah, there was definitely some interesting times in 2020. So
Yeah, I mean, hell, but 2020 was interesting. I mean, that's where I really got into judging. I had never judged before 2020, and we did Wadapalooza, and I had no idea what I was doing. And then like 2 weeks later, the world shut down.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, 2 weeks later, world shut down, lost my job, and then I'm like, I have nothing to do. And then I heard there were CrossFit competitions starting up, so I just started hitting up organizers on Instagram for like Masters Fitness Collective and the Pitt Fitness Ranch Teen Championship in Michigan. Like I literally just started DMing their Instagram and was like, hey, I want to come judge. You don't know who I am. I just want to come judge. I've judged Wadapalooza, and they thought I was like a very, very, very established judge. And
A little do they know.
Oh, there's more. They brought me in, and I mean, I had volunteered a bunch. I'd only judged like twice, but they brought me in, and then their head judge got a COVID scare. So the morning of the first day of competition, I got a knock on my door like, hey, so-and-so might have COVID, your head judge. I had judged twice. I'm instantly on the phone texting Brian Folger, judge extraordinaire, like, what do I do? And then they put me in front of all their judges. This is Mike. He's judged a lot.
He's in charge.
He's in charge. He's judged a lot. He's the one guy who's not from our small town. Mike, tell them about your experience. I didn't say what I did at all the competitions, but I listed all the competitions I'd done. Only 2 of them were judging.
They don't need to know that. Just fake it till you make it, right?
They're gonna know it now, because I know Brock's probably gonna listen to this because I told him I was doing it. So he'll either like call me a liar and then laugh about it, or just laugh about it. Since I'll be going back this year to help with some capacity again in their 3rd year. So I mean, fake it till you make it must have done okay. But
I mean, that's how I fell into the Iron Games too. I volunteered there because I had met their head judge,
Yep.
Paul. I met him at the games. I think him and I did our first games together, like our inaugural year. We both went together in the same year. So, and then he ended up at the Iron Games as the head judge. And I had volunteered because of the comp director there, Jason Giannetti, and I had been known him at the games. He was my team lead. So Paul calls me or sends me a message on like Facebook or Instagram the night before saying, or 2 days before saying, hey, my assistant head judge just bailed. Can you do it? Totally not ready for it. Totally not even knowing what. Sure, Paul, I got you.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, my first volunteer experience ever, I did, as the judges will call me, they call me scoring since I split my time.
You do.
I do. Not anymore. I can't anymore. I can't do scoring anymore with the new job. But my first, I may have told you this story. My first ever time volunteering was the Rogue Invitational, the first one. Did I ever tell you this? And
no,
I had never volunteered, and I was like, oh, they're having all these sanctionals. I should try this volunteering thing. I'm going to apply for Rogue as a nobody who's never volunteered. Somehow I think I put on my application, I run intramural sports and like run tournaments and do scoring for that. And then they put me on the scoring team. I get in my little car and I drive 10 hours to Columbus, Ohio. I don't know anyone. I stayed in a one room cabin on a strange woman's farm that I found on Airbnb. The door did not lock. It just had a little hook latch.
Nice.
It had cots. It had a fan/light. It did not have a shower. I showered in the little pond next to it. And then after the first day of volunteering, I went to a truck stop and looked pathetic, and someone gave me a free shower.
Wow.
Yeah. And
this is a great story.
I still have it on Airbnb, it was $30 a night, 20 miles north of Columbus.
You get what you pay for.
I didn't know anyone. I just did this all super cheap. Like I have a Prius, so the gas was like 2 tanks of gas there and back. And I feel like I didn't know anyone at all. Like the lead scoring person, who's one of the same leads for the games, except for the head, the black shirt, and must have made the right impression after doing that. I literally got done volunteering Sunday and drove back to Minnesota. Like everyone's like hanging out, high fiving. And I'm like, I don't know anyone. Thanks for everything. I'm gonna get out.
I'm out of here.
Start my 10-hour drive. And then they told us like, put these names on your applications for the games, and then got to go to the games and do scoring there, and didn't in 2020, but got to do it again in 2021 and had a pretty awesome job with that. So why would I ever give that up? But it's like my first time volunteering is one of the most, I will be cocky that it is a unique story, and it was one of the craziest experiences ever. And it definitely sparked where I am now from a professional sense. I don't think I'd be where I am in a professional sense if I hadn't done that. Just randomly got in my car and the things I remember from that weekend is Matt Fraser glared at me because he was losing after the first day, and I passed him in the hallway and was like, good job today. Just got a death glare. And then Ben Smith was super nice, even though he was having a bad weekend. Tia gave me the most cheery good morning I've ever received. And then I took a piss next to Pat Vellner at the urinal, and I didn't realize it was Pat Vellner because he looks like a normal human.
Fact.
The only other time I have had a crazy experience peeing next to an elite athlete. It's weird that I've had 2 of these. Rogue Invitational this year. This is
derailed. This is awesome.
Is derailed. When this happened, I was like, I can't make this shit up. I'm in the urinal at the Rogue Invitational this year at the Dell Diamond Arena. It's like there's 2 urinals in the men's bathroom, and it's for all the volunteers. And I think the athlete check-in area was right there. And I'm going to the bathroom, and I just feel a presence. Like a shadow comes over me. Not paying any attention. Brian Shaw, in the biggest cowboy hat I've ever seen, is at the urinal next to me. And I'm just like, can I fangirl in this moment? Like, is this weird? But
anybody else would have been smaller. The biggest guy in the world,
the largest mammal that walks this earth in terms of a human being. And I'm just like, all right. I'm like, didn't say a word to each other, didn't look at each other, but I was just like, I felt a presence. And it was like, that's why the gravity probably shifted around me.
That's awesome. That's a cool dude to me. He's a big dude.
I wanted to say hi, but I just didn't think it was the time
or the place.
I mean, yeah, I thought of maybe doing the old like, hey, this is where the dicks hang out, but I feel it just would have been the most awkward stare, and maybe my volunteer weekend would have been over.
Maybe
Like,
not.
or I could have formed a dynamic friendship with Brian Shaw. We'll never know.
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
Opportunity missed, maybe, or opportunity saved.
True. That is also where I talked to people from my new company and was like, hey, when are you all going to be hiring? A month later, they post a job. So there we go.
Yeah, there you go. Weird how things work out.
Right. So that's our very long-winded introduction of ourselves.
Yeah, I think is that all we're doing? Is just the introduction right there? We're still on that. We're still on that.
That's all. That's still us. Who are we? So what are we talking about? Once again, Community Rx'd. We're talking about things within the CrossFit community that interest us. Some topics that we've talked about, and you can chime in and correct me or add any, because we're making this up as we go along with just what we want to talk about. People that we know within the CrossFit community, the idea of talking to some longtime volunteers, where they started, how they got to where they are. So one we have lined up is the amazing, I say lined up because I got a verbal yes. So we're going to call that lined up.
We're going to call that lined up.
Yeah. We had a Facebook conversation where we actually talked about his origin story as a judge, and it'd be the lamest.
I'm so looking forward to that. I don't even care if nobody listens to it. I just want to be a part of that conversation. Like,
right?
Yeah.
I can't believe you said yes, because we're talking about Brian Folger, the most unassuming, will never take the spotlight, never take credit. I can't believe he said yes.
I'm so excited for that.
I know I've talked to the original owner of my gym, talking about how he actually started our gym in his garage. And it's now a 8-year affiliate, and he's selling and moving on from it, but still will coach. So talk to him and other people within the space of like how they got started. The original idea for how this podcast was conceived was actually a conversation with Scott Schweitzer of a podcast that focuses on the little gym and the affiliate and the specific needs of the small affiliate, because everyone listens, love them. Ben Bergeron, Jason Kalipa, all these people with large affiliates. There is some good stuff there, but they're not in the shit, so to speak, with the little affiliate on a day-to-day basis and what they have to deal with. COVID made that even more apparent when you'd hear the conversations that would happen between different sized gyms. So that's where this idea came from. And I wanted to expand it because I didn't think there was enough traction to do a podcast solely about that, maybe eventually, but neither one of us has watched the 2018 games documentary. I've been holding off, even though I pre-ordered it. So watching that,
me too. Me too.
Giving our thoughts. I've even thought of like other documentaries that I haven't watched about CrossFit, like Kevin Ogar, his documentary about, I believe the topic is becoming an adaptive L1 coach. There's one about, it's like Out of the Box, where it's someone who traveled around and visits boxes in other countries. I've heard about that one. I haven't actually seen a video of it. Event recaps, because we both enjoy watching the sport of fitness. Talking about local comps and their history. I know in Minnesota, we have the Granite Games, which started as a local comp in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and has worked its way up to being a semifinal owned by Loud and Live. And then there's also, we have an organization called Game Day Events that is, they want to make normal people feel like games athletes, and they do a fantastic job of that. And they've grown. They're under new ownership. I'd love to hear their plans for the future. And I know, Tom, you work with a couple. One of the big ones is
NorCal Classic. Who I think not last year, but 2 years ago, right before COVID, was won by you may have heard of him, Justin Medeiros. He won, and then I think Daniel Brandon won that same year. So
they're both slightly famous.
Yeah. So I mean, we're might be like, if you win that, maybe you get to punch your ticket to the game someday. I don't know if that's true or not. Don't believe that.
Did Medeiros have the mullet at that time?
I'm sure he did. I wasn't there that year. I don't know. That's a really good question.
I feel like there's going to be a time he shaves that mullet, and it'll be like Samson.
It'll be the end of an era.
I mean, I hope it doesn't happen that way because I like him, but
you know what the best way to do that is? The best way to do it is just to not say anything and just do a weightlifting video. And then everybody's like, they just like Instagram, just post you like PR in your deadlift with bald, just completely bald.
People wouldn't even know it's him.
People would lose their mind. It would be awesome.
They wouldn't even pay attention to the weight he deadlifted. He deadlifts 700 pounds. Yeah, but his hair.
But what happened to his hair?
Apparently he's stronger without it. So let's see. What else on my list? I have just inspirational stuff on my list. So anything we hear about that we think is relevant. I know we're going to miss out on it because the Clydesdale Fitness and Friends are actually doing an episode on this about Paul's gym and being running a level 1 for Native American youth. I can't remember it's the CrossFit Scholarship Program.
Yeah.
What it's called. So they're doing that. So I know they got dibs on that, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's getting that's getting a lot of traction. Paul's gym is in Powell, like Arizona.
Yep.
Morning chalk ups, covered them, and it's a good thing. It's an awesome thing for the community.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But things like that, anything that we come up with, I just put this highlight of those doing good. We're both big proponents of the RPM 10K challenge and what that supports. We're both doing it this year. I did it last year. Have you done it one time?
No, this will be my 4th.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know it'd been going on that long. So things like
3rd
that
or 4th.
we'll be looking at, and just things within the community that people hear about. I've got some ideas of people I'd like to speak with just based on brands and Instagram accounts, and I see what they're posting and see if we can get to the point where people actually want to speak to us.
I would love, and I'd love to, and I know you and I haven't talked about this yet. So we're recording live, it'd be a great time to talk about it.
And
Masters athletes, because I'm a Masters athlete.
Yes.
And I'm a member of WOD Prep Masters. Now I know Ben has his own podcast with Make WODs Great Again.
Yeah, with John.
So probably with John, but probably not going to be able to get. We might be able to get Ben someday, but
do like a combo podcast.
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be awesome. But I'm a huge fan of WOD Prep Masters. Obviously, I'm a Masters athlete and follow them, and they have a lot of good coaches and do a lot of good things. So I know a lot of their athletes. I'd love to bring some of them on, bring some of that smaller community in and get their take on things. So
I'm off. I mean, the Masters, just the age groups. I mean, as someone who's judged the Masters Fitness Collective twice, that is the most fun I've ever had judging. Those athletes are
my very first year was the age group pavilion at the games. I mean, my very first year judging at the games was Masters athletes, some of the most best athletes to judge.
Yep.
And I love it. And it brings a lot of that small town community feel to the CrossFit Games. Obviously, it's a lot of fun being in there in the Coliseum with the big name athletes right there. The energy is epic. I always think of now, anytime you want to know what energy is in the Coliseum, just think of Annie Thorstadter's snatch, like that lift.
Fact.
You can't beat. I don't think anybody's ever going to beat that. I don't know, maybe, but that energy was just. And I was in there. It was full of just.
Yeah, it was
awesomeness.
The only equivalent I would have to that is Fraser's winning clean in 2019.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
Chills.
Yeah,
that was my first year volunteering, and I had to pinch myself that I got the seat that I got, the job that I got to witness that entire games, but that moment.
Yeah, it was. But now that all that energy has gone into the age group pavilion, and it's still right there. And it's because you get you're sitting there and you always hear in the Coliseum, you always hear things like "Go Matt" or "Go Tia" or "Go Annie" or whatever. And in the age group pavilion, you hear "Go Dad."
Yep.
Go Mom. Go Grandma. I mean, I heard Grandma when I'm like, oh, this is badass. This is badass. Like, you got kids that are seeing Grandma compete at that level. I mean, you can't beat that.
You want to be inspired. Those are the athletes to watch. I remember. My first year at Masters Fitness Collective, they had the 65 plus division. They had muscle ups programmed, and there was a guy who could do them. And it was just like goals.
Yep.
goals,
Yep.
like to be
Goals.
able to even function like that. And just they're the most genuinely nice human beings. I'll never forget, her name was Debbie. She couldn't handstand walk. She was a sweetheart. She's in the 60 plus division, I think. She got done with her skier, did her jump rope, and it's like, well, I can't do that. So let's just talk about life.
Yep.
And we sat at the starting line and just chatted for the rest of the event. I'll never forget that. They are the most inspirational, awesome people, bar none. The only thing that's more so or equivalent is the adaptive athletes, who are mind-blowing what they are able to do. I would love to. Like,
what a privilege I had this year.
Yeah, you got to judge them at the games. I got to judge them at Wadapalooza, and it was just like absolute mind-blowing. I would love to talk to adaptive athletes or those who program for them, wheel wad, any of them, like just to shed more light, because the group that win the CrossFit games or the elites are so small. We love them. We love watching them. It's like watching the NBA, the pinnacle of the sport. But at the end of the day, the majority of people who are involved in CrossFit are not those humans.
Right. Yeah, I think we took the top 5 for each division. I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think.
I think it was for adaptive. It was top 5, and then for age groups, I want to say it was top 10 or 20 this
20,
year.
I think. I can't remember last year, and it's going to change again this year. But
yeah, just in terms of the sheer volume of people involved in CrossFit, the adaptive, the age group are so much bigger than your elite division, and anything we can do to shed more light on what they do is perfect, because they deserve it.
Yeah, they do.
So I love that.
Let's be honest. A lot of those masters, a lot of those adaptives, and I'd say the vast majority of teen CrossFitters are a lot fitter than me. So they put in a lot more work than I have.
More than most of us. Certainly more than you and I.
Yeah, they excel. So
nope, I'm all for it. I can't what else do we have any other? Do you think of anything else we'll be covering, or we'll just figure it out as we go?
That's a good start. I mean,
we have to actually record one of these episodes at some point. So this is a good intro. Rambling origin stories for both of us aside, more so me as a rambler, but we'll have to talk to Brian probably after Wadapalooza, because he's one of the heads for that. But
yeah, let's let him decompress from that.
Yeah, I'll try and maybe get my gym owner, because I was supposed to talk to him 2 weeks ago, and then we both watched football instead. So, but this is our first intro episode. So as far as we know, that is what we're going to be talking about here on Community Rx'd. As part of the Clydesdale Media Podcast Network. We'll probably expand as we go, bring in more people we know from our connections within the community, and try and put something together that's worth listening to and entertaining.
That's the goal. That's the goal, is to entertain. Hopefully we do entertain. Otherwise, we're going to go down in a blaze of glory.
Yeah, entertain, or at least bring more attention to those that are deserving of the attention.
Hopefully.
Because there are people infinitely more deserving than us to get this attention, that if we can help shed a light on that, kudos to them and to us. So that's our first episode. I have nothing more to add, and I have no way to exit this conversation because I'm terrible at that kind of thing. So I'm just going to say that's what we got.
That works for me.
Perfect.
That's all we got. That's all I got for you.
Well, tune in next time. I imagine this will be able to be listened to wherever the Clydesdale Fitness and Friends podcast is broadcast, because we are part of their network, and we'll be for sure on Spotify, and we'll see where we go from there. But thank you for listening. And this is Community Rx'd.